Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss the nice guys on business. I'll have what the nice guys on business are having. Need an education on how to grow your business? The nice guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Hey, Nice Guy community. My name is Doug Sandler. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Strickland Bonner over on that side of the microphone. I said I'm Doug already, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Hey,
I'm not used to the beginning lead-in thing because I got to say like a welcome back. And wait a minute, can we just start over? I think it would be better just to start over.
Whatever you like, Doug. But I mean, you're doing the intro because I did the interview today.
You did?
Yeah, Paul Maskill.
Oh, that's so great. So I don't have to do anything today?
Well, you could ask me about Paul and I could tell you about TGA, which is Teach, Grow, Achieve. That's the company that he actually works for. But what's interesting about Paul, I mean, TGA is interesting. It's all about working with kids and teaching them golf and teaching them tennis.
You're like getting right into it and everything. There was like no foreplay, no anything.
Hey, man, whatever you want. It's all.
I wasn't ready. Can't we just like hold hands for a little while first before we start getting to the whole thing?
Oh, Doug.
Well, you know me. I'm like a romantic guy. I kind of like to go easy and just kind of, just ease into it. I know you're just jump right in the sack kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy.
You want to start with a promise statement then?
I don't know.
If you had it in front of you, you'd like to start with it, but you don't have it in front of you. So you got to find it between your 27 different Apple products.
Wait, I got it here. You want to read it though, or you want me to?
No, you tell me. It's okay. You didn't want me to jump right in, so go ahead. Why don't you?
All right. Well, everybody, Nice Guy community, if this is the first time that you're actually tuning in,
as good as it gets.
This is it. It doesn't get any better than this. It can't get any worse. It doesn't get any better than this. The Nice Guys on Business promise statement is right here. Nice Guy community, our goal is to provide the most entertaining podcast experience ever. I mean, we think it's entertaining. You might not, period. Hold us to that standard. If we don't achieve that standard, or I know Strick likes to achieve things a lot quicker than I do. If you don't achieve that standard, could you just let us know? Reach out to us. My handle is at DJ Doug over on Twitter. Strick is at Nice Guy on Biz with a Z. Let us know how we're doing. The best way to really let us know how we're doing is just to review the show. If you're listening on Overcast, which we know I think 107% of you are actually listening on Overcast. Just do us a favor. Click on the cover art right behind that. There's a little button that says recommend. If you haven't recommended the last, 192 episodes of our 220 or so, could you just go ahead and recommend maybe just 40 or 50 of them? That way we can stay in the rankings. Right now we are number 3, right behind that. Who's that no name?
Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, that guy. And
NPR.
what's the other? Yeah, the other one, NPR. So we are number 3. Believe it or not, even a shitty show like ours can make it to number 3 in the rankings if you just stay at it long enough. So we are here. So anyway, that is the Nice Guys on Business promise statement and our plea to you to review the show. Okay, now.
And also in the show notes, there's a little survey link. Take the survey. We want to know who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah. If you take the survey, we will actually be able to give you more of what you want too. It's a really simple survey. It's anonymous. It just does things like ask you how much money you make, that kind of stuff. No, I don't know. I don't think does it do that? Is it one of those surveys that says?
Yeah, I think it does because we need to know more about what the interests of our listeners are.
Do you think that's for us, or do you think that it's for how do we use those answers?
Well, we haven't got enough of them to be able to use them yet. I want to use them to try to figure out how we can steer our show. And also we want to find the right advertisers to sponsor the show. All
right. So is the survey specific to our show, or are they more generic? Oh, okay. I wasn't 100% sure. So when people
because there are listeners. Yeah. So this survey is a survey link that is just our listeners. So when somebody takes it is saying it's coming from the Nice Guys on Business listener.
And who sponsors the link?
I don't know yet. We haven't decided who we're going through yet. We've got a couple of possibilities. Like we got a Libsyn.
All right. So this is a survey that we haven't put together, but we're using an independent podcast survey company that will help us do an analysis to determine who are the best, what is the best group of products to advertise for our audience. Is that what I just didn't know what the overall premise of why we have the survey to begin with, because people just don't like taking surveys for no reason.
No, I know. And the purpose is so we can get to know our listeners better, so we can serve you guys better and figure out what it is you want more of. But it's also so we can try and find the right advertisers for us if somebody ever decided they wanted to advertise, like our sponsor today, Munchies.
Oh, Mantra Munchies is back?
They are, but let's not get off on that tangent yet because we have our pre-recorded for Mantra Munchies. Paul Maskill actually graduated from the University of Michigan with a finance degree. See, it's... Nice Guy listeners, for those of you who don't know, it's my job to keep us on track sometimes.
Yeah, you do a great job.
Doug's job to get us off on the rails sometimes. So,
I believe that would be off of the rails.
Off of the rails?
Yeah, but the question is, do you put off on or do you put on off?
No, that's like episode 198 or something. We're not going to go back to that. Okay. So Paul basically graduated with a degree in finance and was going to go into like the corporate world. And he did that for a while and decided he hated it. He didn't want to be a corporate world guy. So he jumped into this franchise called TGA. And before you start thinking, oh yeah, this is just going to be like, hey, try to sell this TGA franchise. It's totally not about that because he actually jumped into the TGA franchise, really liked it. So he was an entrepreneur, and he bought 2 TGA franchises. Again, TGA is Teach, Grow, and Achieve. We'll get more into it, but it's basically all about helping kids with after-school programs. And then he actually sold them, but he now works for the company. So it's interesting if we have listeners, I know we do, who are entrepreneurs, maybe trying to decide what business to get into. Franchising is very interesting, but Paul has seen both sides. In other words, he did corporate America, and then he was an entrepreneur that owned a franchise, and now he works for the company, but doesn't own the franchise anymore. So it's very interesting to see it from all different sides and different perspectives.
Let me say this, and maybe I'm speaking out of school here, but you can put me back on the proper path. Do you think that anybody that comes on our show comes on here with the intent that they're going to sell their product or service? I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that whenever I prep the guests on the show, I make sure that they are aware that this is not an infomercial ground, and this is not an opportunity for you to pitch your products or services. If we happen to talk about your products or services, that's great. But I'm all about the relationship and the conversation. And I always think that if our community likes what our guests have to say, they'll end up finding out more information about them just because they want to.
Well, Doug, you and I know that, and I don't know that we may have new listeners that are not as aware of that. There are definitely podcast interview shows out there where the person that's being interviewed, it's really just a sales pitch. It's right. Late night talk show where they're coming on to promote their movie or whatever. This is not that. We never do that. That is not what we're all about. We're really all about the relationships, and it is about learning about the person that we're interviewing, but also what do they have to bring to the table that may help our listeners, whether our listeners are trying to build their small business or trying to decide if they want to become an entrepreneur or quit their day job or whatever it may be. That is our focus all the time.
No, I appreciate you saying that this isn't a commercial for Paul to come on the show. And Paul, as in addition to the other 100 and some odd guests that have come on the show, I mean, when I prep them as a part of coming on the show, they are quite aware of that. And I don't do that in a negative way. I'm like, hey, if people love you, which I want them to, they're going to want to find out how to get more information from you. But I'm really interested in what Paul has to say because I have worked with a lot of franchisors in order to to help promote the products and services that I offer because it fits very well into my world. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in hearing what this interview is all about.
Well, the franchise world is interesting too. And it's funny that we really have not really interviewed many people about it because let's say I am an entrepreneur and I want to start my own business, right? The whole franchise model is about, hey, maybe I like cleaning. That's a terrible example. I know who likes cleaning, right? Mm. But like if I wanted to start a company that was a cleaning company, like I don't know shit about it. Well, I can go to a franchise company and pay them a fee and they've structured the whole thing already. And so depending on what you're looking for as an entrepreneur, it can be a really great thing. Now, it's not for everybody, but
they have the systems. They have the systems all set up. It does make a lot of sense to get if you do want to buy into a business and you don't have a lot of capital, but you have a lot of know-how. Some of the franchises are very, very reasonable startup cost to get in.
No doubt. It's a very interesting tack to take, and it's one that we have not talked about very much on the show. So Paul obviously knows quite a bit about it, and I think he's going to share his knowledge. So without further ado, as soon as we hear a few words from our sponsor, Mantra Munchie, we're going to get to the interview with Mr. Paul Maskill. Hey, Doug. So today we're going to talk about our sponsor, Mantra Munchies. But, I mean, they're not even really like a sponsor because I just want to talk about them all the time because they're so good.
I fell in love with not only Kendall, but her cookie dough creations.
So you're trying to say that the universe has brought us together?
Yeah, I think so. Do you believe in a higher power, Strick?
I believe in cookie dough creations from Mantra Munchies because I do not want to stop eating them because they're so good.
They are good. So
I find it hard to believe they're actually healthy for me.
What's the nice guy one called?
The Nice Guy richer edition of the Goaty OG cookies. And they're not my favorites specifically because they were named after us. They're just my favorites. They're so good.
So many good things. Where has Mantra Munchies been my entire? You think they should probably hand them out when you go to like yoga class? I was going to say yogurt class. Hey, shows how many yoga classes I've actually been to. When you go to yoga, at the end of the class, they should probably hand you one of those cool mix-ins that they have.
They have the sweet and creamy, which is the cold that I have actually made my shakes with the sweet and creamy before. Deliciously sweet and creamy, but no sugar. It uses organic coconut milk creamer. They're so good. I put it in my shakes the other day. It's so good.
What makes the most sense to me is you make no bake dry mixes.
You make no bake.
Just mix, roll, and eat. It is that simple.
No, all of this stuff, it is amazing because it's gluten-free, dairy-free, organic. They use raw ingredients. Not all of them are vegan, but many of them are vegan. And with all of that, they still taste great. I am not a guy who says, I only put the most perfect, pure stuff into my body. I eat badly. But with this, I will eat well. This will get me healthy.
Remember, Strickland, everything in moderation, my friend. I've seen you overloading on the hempy fudgy brownies, my brother.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Just take it easy. Take it easy. So
they also have chia chocolate cookie coconut clusters.
Oh, so many great things. I think about Mantra Munchies a lot. I think about them at work. I think about coming home. I can't wait to have a wonderful snack. It's
when I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing I think of eating.
Is it really?
Not yet, but I think it will be soon.
It definitely will be soon. Well, how can our nice guy community get a hold of Mantra Munchies, Strickland?
They can go to mantramunchies.com and click the buy now, because this stuff is so good. Or they can go to our website, niceguysonbusiness.com, and click the Mantra Munchies link there. Tell them the nice guy sent you.
And make sure that you get in touch with Kendall also. She wants to talk to you. She wants to hear of your experience with Mantra Munchies too. Please.
And we do too. You should call in 4242 DJ and tell us about it because we want to hear about it too.
We do. All right, Mantra Munchies, let's get to it.
Hey, nice guy community. Today we are talking to Paul Maskill. And how are you doing today, Paul?
Doing well. How are you, Strickland?
I am great. Welcome to the show. So we talked a little bit about Paul coming in. And so you graduated from the University of Michigan. You had a finance degree, went to jump in, and you're thinking, hey, big business and finance and banking and all that stuff. You got into the corporate world and were quickly a bit disillusioned. Why don't you tell us all about that?
Yeah, disillusion would be a good word to use. So I did what everybody tells everybody to do when you're growing up. Go to school, graduate, go to college, get a good job, and climb the corporate ladder and work for one employer for the next 30 to 50 years. So that was my plan. And so I set off to Chicago, relocated to Chicago from Michigan. And my first job in finance lasted about 8 weeks and left that job pretty quickly, went to another job and stayed with the company there for about 3 years and probably moved around 2 or 3 times within those 3 years. Just seeing and realizing that it just wasn't for me, sitting in a cubicle, no reward, no gratification, building somebody else's business. In this case, it was a big, large bank. So really, you're just building a business for some stockholders, and all they're trying to do is squeeze out another earnings gain. And not to mention, it was from 2007 to 2010 during the financial crisis. So all in all, it was probably a blessing in disguise to allow me to realize that I did not want to do this for the rest of my life. So that was the short of it. And I left Chicago, moved down to Raleigh, North Carolina, where I decided that I wanted to do something different. Didn't know what that was. So in between Chicago and Raleigh, I went off to South America for 2 months, backpacked around South America. And then at that point, I definitely realized that I was not going to go back to cubicle life.
I love that. So why South America for 2 months? Was it just, hey, you'd seen corporate America, obviously a number of different positions, a number of different companies. Was it just, hey, I want to get away? Or was it all like, did you always have that bug to like, I want to go see someplace really crazy, weird, exotic, whatever, along those lines?
Yeah, so probably a little bit of both. I always like traveling, exploring new countries, seeing how other people live, traveling locally, staying locally. Not a big fan of, going to an all-inclusive and sitting by the beach and doing nothing for a week. I like adventure, like doing stuff, like exploring. So that was part of it. And I wanted to do something because I knew whatever my next venture was probably going to be building a business, which, as you know, takes a lot of time, energy, effort, where you don't really get to go on a 2-month vacation, at least not to start. The goal is, when you build that business, eventually then you can go back to those 2 and 3 month vacations. So I wanted to take, that trip, wanted to do a lot of things down there, hike the Inca Trail, go see Machu Picchu, go see the Nazca Lines, go to the Amazon, kayaking, biking, hiking, all those good things that I wanted to do. So I figured, why not do it? So saved up some money and quit my job and did it.
All right. So then you went down there for 2 months. You came back. You knew you didn't want to get back into corporate America. So what did you jump into when you came back?
Yeah. So I happened to, when I was in South America, just kind of got the wheels turning and thinking of what I wanted to do next, and had always played golf my whole life. Always was around sports, played a bunch of sports growing up, loved sports, loved coaching, and obviously had a business background. So I was just looking to maybe tie some of those in, and was looking to start my own business, and just happened to be flipping through the Entrepreneur magazine at the airport and saw a listing for TGA, which stands for Teach, Grow, and Achieve. And basically, we run golf and tennis programs for kids right after school. Usually, it's kind of the main part of the business to get started. And saw that, and for me, it made a real good fit, and made a lot of sense just to be able to combine, kind of all the things that I like to do, that I know how to do, and that I'm pretty good at. So kind of explored it for the next couple months. It was listed as, it was one of the top low-cost startup franchises that you can do from home. And for me, that was appealing. With a finance degree, I knew that I didn't want to take on a bunch of debt, didn't want a bunch of overhead, didn't want to deal with a brick and mortar build out. So after doing all my due diligence, it really made a lot of sense to do. So that's what I did.
So I'm very curious, because TGA, again, is franchise, which I find the whole franchise model really interesting, because clearly, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to go out on your own and you want to own your own business, all franchises are basically set up as, hey, we've made the mistakes already, right? So we figured a lot of this out for you. And yes, we're going to charge you, some franchise fee, but basically it's to save you the time and aggravation of making all these mistakes. You found this one, obviously, in golf, which is great, something you love doing. So I'm very curious, when you were doing your due diligence, I'm assuming you looked at a lot of different franchises. What kind of things did you see that you look out for, that basically you saw some and it made you want to avoid them, but you saw things at TGA that said, hey, you know what, this really appeals to me?
Yeah, so definitely, when looking at any franchise opportunity or looking to buy an existing business, kind of the same due diligence process you probably go through. For me, like you said, it made a ton of sense, because I didn't have to do the heavy lifting, didn't have to spend a bunch of time, money, and energy, when I could really invest fairly a small amount of money to get a business that's pretty much turnkey and not a lot of overhead. So, things to look out for, things to avoid, do they allow you to contact current franchise owners to kind of get their feedback on their experience? What kind of financial models do they put together? What kind of, what's in their FDD, which is a franchise disclosure document, which is basically the franchise agreement that you get before that allows you to review. So, are there hidden costs? Are there hidden fees? What are their royalties? What could they do in the future? Could they increase the royalties? Could they, charge you with other expenses? So really, from a financial standpoint, kind of looking at all that stuff. From a, kind of lifestyle, business ownership standpoint, definitely, they should allow you to reach out to current franchise owners, and then just do a lot of research online. Internet is obviously very powerful. See what kind of programs they're offering. See if there's any negative feedback out there about them. And for me, doing that research, not only did I find that, TGA was a pretty good fit for me, but like you said, I saw what could happen with other franchises that definitely were, red flags and things to avoid. And I didn't see any of those red flags with TGA, which is why I made the move to go in that direction.
All right. So Raleigh, North Carolina, and you jump in, you buy a franchise. Now, eventually you grew it to 4 different franchises, right?
Correct. Yep, that is correct.
All right. And then what's interesting to me is you got 4 franchises, you grew it, obviously you enjoy it. And then, TGA expanded to tennis. Now, when you jumped in, were they doing tennis already, or they just I know they started with just golf and then they expanded to tennis, right?
Yeah. So when I started, they just had golf. So for me, I just invested in 1 golf franchise, and then tennis came around about a year after. And for me, it made perfect business sense because the main part of the business, like I said, is partnering with local elementary schools to run after-school programs for the kids. And I had already established all those relationships with the golf program. So now I could go to those same, schools and say, hey, super excited. Now we're offering a tennis program. So we basically doubled our business without having to double the geographic, landscape, as well as not having to double the amount of customers or contacts that we had to reach out to.
We talk all the time about on the show, when you're growing your business, you want to focus on what you do best. And obviously businesses always want to expand. And sometimes it's about finding more customers. Other times it's about finding more services. And a lot of times it's more services that your same customers may want. So that, I'm sure, to you was a great expansion. Obviously, you're dealing with kids and you are dealing with sports. You're getting kids involved and keeping them active. So that was a great fit. Now, what's interesting to me is you grew your 4 franchises and then you decided to sell them, and you are now in charge of business development for TGA, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So it's been kind of a crazy journey that I never would have expected, but, I'm still with TGA day in and day out, which is what I love. I love, now I'm working with franchise owners and prospective franchise owners all across the country and the world. And now I'm able to indirectly impact even more kids. So, it's super fun. And yeah, so it's been kind of a weird journey, but I probably wouldn't change much of it.
I love that. So just to clarify, so basically you are an employee now of TGA, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I am an employee technically of TGA, the franchise for.
So what exactly did you find different? I'm curious in your kind of evolution. Obviously you own 4 franchises and you were running those. Now I'm guessing that as being in charge of business development, time wise, it would just be too much to do that and own the franchises. I'm guessing that's why you sold the franchises?
Not necessarily. It is true that I wouldn't be able to do both. So when I was owning the franchises, I was actually doing some consulting for the franchisor on a business development level, basically working with current franchise owners on what we implemented here in the Raleigh area by really building a team and putting people, systems, and processes in place so that the business could thrive without the owner on a day-to-day basis. And, TGA as a franchisor saw the success we're having here and wanted me to start working with some of their other top level franchise owners to kind of get them to that spot. So at first I was just doing some consulting, and then selling the business was kind of back to the timing is everything quote. A friend of mine he's a small business broker and was just talking to them and kind of getting a good idea of what my business was worth. I had been, growing it for about 4 years at that point. And, did the valuation, and they looked to see what our growth was and what we had in place and all that good stuff. And I said, well, if we could sell it for that amount, I'd definitely entertain some offers. And ironically, at the same time, they had somebody, reach out to them that had just retired early from corporate America and was looking to invest in a business that was already up and running. And they happened to love sports and love golf. So, it all kind of came together really quickly. And after I sold the franchises, then I had the opportunity to work with TG on a full-time basis. So it was kind of a weird, crazy, winding journey to get to where I am right now.
That's very cool. So we have an interesting dynamic on the Nice Guys. My podcast partner, Doug Sandler, is a entrepreneur. He's been running his own business for probably 20 years now. And I have always done some things on the side, but I've always basically worked a day job and been an employee. So very curious, because obviously there's no right or wrong answer. There's what's right for different people. And, Paul, you've seen both sides of it. I'm very curious from your perspective, what it is that you like or don't like about being the business owner, but then also about being the employee working for the same company that you used to be a franchisee for.
Yeah, so it's an interesting dynamic because you see both sides, and then still working with franchise owners, you still see both sides. What I do like about, even though I am an employee now, we're still a pretty entrepreneurial venture as far as, our mindset and our, we can pivot pretty quickly. Not a rigid company at all. There's only maybe 7 or 8 of us on the headquarters team, and they're all actually located in LA except myself. So I'm in Raleigh. We still have a lot of, I feel like I still own a business just because, we are a small office. And I tell everybody, you don't have to always be the owner. You could still, there's plenty of people that were number 2s and number 3s of companies that had a pretty good career. If you were number 2 through 200 at Facebook, I think you'd be better off than starting your own business. So it really is all relative, so from that standpoint, I still enjoy it. I don't feel like I have a boss, which is really what I didn't want in anything. I didn't want a job, and it doesn't feel like a job just because, we're all kind of in it together. It's basically a small team with the same end goal. So from that standpoint, nothing's really changed. Obviously, when you are a business owner, especially in the service-based world, there's a lot more little things that you probably have to worry about. You're dealing with customers on the micro level, on the local level. In TGA, you're dealing with parents who have kids. So obviously there's another heightened level of, trust that you have to build there. And then really you have a lot of part-time employees that are working for you. So obviously from an HR standpoint, making sure those 2 groups of people are always happy, your employees and your customers, and building the culture around that's definitely, a big thing when running a service-based business or franchise, which is a little bit different than in my role that I have today.
No doubt. So with so many small business owners out there, and obviously the internet, the world is becoming a much smaller place, and consumers can get just about anything, just about anywhere. So really, most services and products are really being sold as commodities now. So what kind of stuff do you all do that makes TGA separate you from, what does it separate you guys from the pack? What do you do different? What do you do special? How do you take care of your customers that other people don't?
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think, all business owners have to realize that whatever they're selling, there's probably 100 other people selling the exact same product or service. So you got to do those little things to set yourself apart. So, in our case, it's really just doing those little things that really make a big difference. So when dealing with parents, ironically, it's those little simple things. So responding to their emails right away, responding to their phone calls right away. I don't know how many times I've responded, to email or phone call within an hour or less. And they're surprised that you responded at all. And 2, they're just really excited that you responded so quickly. So, those little things that continue to build trust so that your customers, know, like, and trust you a little bit more every time you interact with them. It's going to get them, not only to spend more money with you, but they're going to start promoting you. And when you're in a service-based business, that's huge, on a local level. So little things like that, sending out emails on a regular basis that aren't just sales pitches, sending pictures of, what's going on in class, and, sending home progress reports, and all those little things really allows the parents in the TGA world to really start to trust, the business owner and the coaches. And then as far as the schools and the facilities that we work with, just really appreciating their staff, sending thank you things. Here in Raleigh, we would always send them edible arrangements. So get them a nice, edible arrangement to appreciate the school staff, let them know, how much they mean to us and the kids and the difference that they're allowing us to make. So really just all those little customer service things, that's what's going to set you apart, because whatever you're selling, somebody else is going to sell it probably, cheaper, and they're waiting for you to make a mistake. So you better give your customer a reason not to leave.
And it's so interesting too. I think you really need to realize what it is you're selling. On the Nice Guys on Business, we're all about being nice. You're going to get ahead in business by being nice and answering emails and answering phone calls quickly and that type of thing. But, with TGA, really, the product that you're selling, you're doing after school programs, and it is dealing with golf and tennis, but you're dealing with kids. So you're not just selling this product of, hey, I'm teaching sports, right? You really are. You're watching kids, and parents are very aware of that. Obviously, they're not just going to leave their kids for a couple. Most parents are not going to leave their kids with just anybody for a couple of hours. Some parents,
exactly.
But so really, you're not just selling sports instruction. You are selling that, hey, you care about the kids, that you are going to take care of them. And how much of that, it has to translate. The reason I bring this up is you mentioned like, oh, they're surprised that they even got back to you at all. I have definitely had experiences with things like summer camps and after school programs and daycare and those kind of things over the years where really they don't get back to you quickly, if at all. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to leave my kids with you? I mean, come on. You don't even think about the impression that you leave with people. If you have somebody calling to buy a widget, okay, you know what? If you've got the coolest, the cheapest widget and it's the same as everybody else, great. But you're watching their kids. I mean, really, tell me some of those kind of experiences, Paul.
Yeah,
I'm sure you have stories like that.
And that is exactly right. When you're watching somebody's kids, 99% of the parents are going to be concerned of who's watching the kids and, what's their background and how do they interact with them and what are they going to do for safety protocols, all these things that you don't really think of. So, starting on the front end, having your website up to date with backgrounds and bios of all of the coaches and all of your staff members and why your kids should be, trusted with these guys. And then really when it comes to, the day of the event and actually interacting on a personal level, many parents just really appreciate that we actually know who their kid is and what their name is and, how they played yesterday, or how they played last week, and then taking the time before the program and after the program to actually talk to the parents, get to know them, give them a little bit of feedback. Those little things, is going to increase their, their level of trust with you. And then when you just see, as you impact more and more kids, you're just going to see these kids out and about, at the grocery store and those kind of things. And, it goes a long way when you can remember those kids' names and, say, hey, how's the golf game? Haven't seen you in a while, those type of things. So, really just interacting with the kids and really knowing their name and knowing a little bit about them. And then taking the time, 30 seconds here or there to talk to parents is going to go a long way because you don't know who they know and you don't know, what they could do for you and where they can help get your business, because the more you do that, the more people you interact with, the more kids you're impacting. It's going to help your business. It's one of those things that it's not going to help your business's bottom line right now, but over time, you're going to build that goodwill culture and brand that people are going to know when someone says, hey, what do you know about TGA? They're going to say, oh, they're always so da-da-da-da. And hopefully when they use the word always, they're going to say, they're always so caring, they're always so responsive, or my kid always has so much fun. So if you can get somebody to say always before they describe your business, and it's a good context, you're doing something right.
There are certain businesses that really are all about the word of mouth. And, Doug is in the Bar and Bat Mitzvah business. He's a DJ. And so every time he does a mitzvah for a 13-year-old, all of the friends are 11, 12, 13 years old, and all of the parents hang out, and it's all about word of mouth. And I'm quite sure TGA is the same way. Of course, you've got parents and you are teaching their kids, and obviously their friends are the same age. And so it's totally, I'm sure, about word of mouth. So what's interesting with franchises, I see some franchises where I look at it and go like, I could do that on my own. Why would I pay you a franchise fee, right? But something like TGA, where you guys are doing after school programs, and I have got to imagine that the regulations and the kind of bonding that you need, that type of thing, when you're dealing with kids. I'm very curious about the kind of structure that the TGA franchise offers, because I have to believe that if I'm a person who really wants to help kids, if I like working with kids, if I like sports, but I would have no idea where to even start if I said, hey, you know what? I want to start an after school program. So what kind of stuff does TGA in the franchise roll in that can really help you get started kind of turnkey?
Yeah, so on the front end technology side, everything's already built out there. CRM system, custom built for the TGA owners, so they can start taking online registrations right away. They can have all their employees apply online. They can have triggered emails and automated emails, and all these things that would take tens of thousands of dollars to build out on your own. All your customers have their own online account, pay online. All your programs are handled online. Just having that alone, allowing you to scale your business. Is huge. But then, like you said, when you're dealing with kids in schools, if you're just Joe Schmo off the street and nobody's ever heard of you, it's going to be hard to walk into a school and say, hey, I want to teach your kids, golf after school. And then they say, well, who are you? And it's like, well, and what have you done? It's like, well, we haven't done anything yet, but, we'd love for you to give us a try. No school's going to want to take that risk, especially in 2016 when we're recording this. So if you can say, oh, well, we have 98 franchises, or 98 locations around the country, and depending on where you're at, then you can reference where you're at in that state as well. So, here in Raleigh, we have, four in Raleigh, we have one in Durham, we have a couple in Charlotte. We've been doing this for 13 years. Then they're at least going to listen to you, and then you can kind of show them, what's going on. And then, like you said, all the other stuff, just getting insurance set up and getting payroll set up and, all these things to go along with it when you can just invest in the franchise and all that's already set up for you. And, it just makes it a lot easier to actually focus on the business to get your business where you want it to go. And, a lot of people don't really know about franchising, how it works. I mean, you're still owning your own business. You can sell your business whenever you want. It's still yours. You own it. It's just you're investing in, in this case, intellectual property and systems and everything that's been proven to work. Just like if you're investing in a restaurant franchise where you're investing in all the systems and processes and, build out that they have found that works best.
For certain businesses, the franchise model, I think, is just really perfect. And this is a great one because when you're trying to sell a product and you're trying to stand out, you need to be the expert in the field. You need to find some way that you can tell people, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm good. I'm better than everybody else. And you're right. The TGA background, it gives you immediate credibility. So not just the back end where me as a business owner, where I'm trying to run my business. Obviously there are systems in place and we have all of the signups and all that. That's great. But you're right. When I go to a school and the first thing they're going to say is, why are you qualified? Well, if I can say, hey, we have 98 franchises and here you can look at the history and you can see this. I mean, that is immediate credibility. You guys are the experts in the field immediately. And, the foot that you get in the door with the schools and with the places that you need, I mean, you can't even put a price on that. I mean, that's great. If this is what you want to do, it's amazing.
Correct. Yeah, totally agree. So that, that along with, the national partnerships that we've created in the, tennis space, golf space, and education space, it does ease the fears of principals and athletic directors and the decision makers to, give you the time of day to see, listen more and, allow you to give those kids an opportunity to stay active and play sports after school.
No, it's so great. And it's a really great balance. I love the fact that you are really helping people start up businesses and run businesses that are helping kids. You're not just selling widgets. You really are. Obviously, as a business owner, you want to be profitable, but you want to do something good. You want to do something you have a passion for that you really love. And, you get to teach kids. You get to get them involved in sports. You get them active and you're helping them out. I mean, it seems like a win-win all the way around.
It is. And that's what attracted me to it initially was I was just so fed up of corporate America that I wanted to do something fun, rewarding, and to have the opportunity to build a business where the more kids I impact, and the more fun I have, basically, the more successful my business is. That made a lot of sense to me. Not only are we just teaching them the golf swing and tennis swing, but it is an enrichment program, so they're learning all the rules and etiquette and character development, and there's academic lessons and everything else they need to know to be successful in these sports. So that hopefully them and their families play it for a lifetime.
I love it. So, Paul, if you don't mind, I want to take a little bit of a right turn and ask you 2 quick personal questions, if you got a minute.
Of course.
Do you have your phone nearby?
I do.
Do you have an iPhone or do you have a different kind of phone?
I have an iPhone.
Okay, now, first of all, I want to tell you right up front, my podcast partner, Doug, he is a total Apple guy. And when he asks this question, he says, so do you have an iPhone or do you have an inferior product? And of course, I am a Droid guy, and I was
a Droid guy until probably 6 or 8 months ago, and then I finally switched. This is my first iPhone, so I held out as long as I could, but I guess I couldn't hold out any longer.
Really? Now that is very interesting because, I've seen iPhones and I love my Droid. I mean, I wouldn't want to switch. So anyway, first question. So you got your iPhone, right? What is the one non-productivity app that you have on your phone? Like the first one that you think of, like if it's games, if it's words with friends, if it's Candy Crush, something like that.
So, I guess podcasts would be considered productivity. So ESPN app would be the first one looking at my phone right now.
ESPN app. Okay. But you got a podcast app on there that you listen to podcasts?
Correct.
You just use iTunes or you use another app?
Yeah, just the iTunes podcast app or whatever it is.
We have, for whatever reason, I don't know if you've ever heard of Overcast.
Mm-hmm.
We have just gone nuts on Overcast. I mean, we get a very small percentage of our downloads from iTunes for whatever reason, but people on Overcast it's very strange. So we love it. We love Overcast. It's all good. So second question then, what is the last thing you took a picture of with your phone? What's the last picture you took?
Let's see. Probably my daughter, since we have a new 3-month-old daughter, but I will tell you in a second. Actually, the last picture is we have an e-commerce store, and the last picture is the newest product we put up, which is it's a dark walnut coat rack.
Okay, walnut coat rack.
So dark walnut is a type of wood, and we make like wall-mounted coat and hat racks.
Yeah,
and it is a walnut coat rack.
Now, this has nothing to do with TGA, I guess.
That has nothing to do with TGA, no, but that's the last picture on my phone.
Okay, that is interesting. So what else do you do on your e-commerce site? What other kind of stuff do you sell? Is it all like woodworking stuff?
It's all woodworking stuff. So when I sold TGA, I was looking for things to do and starting up several businesses. So one of them was an e-commerce store. My dad's he's been doing wood stuff since he was in high school. So he owns his own hardwood floor business and started making wood products and just started selling them on Etsy and Amazon Handmade. Mm-hmm. And then slowly started adding more and more products. And now we're on Shopify. We have our own Shopify store. So that's another project that I started last October when I sold my TGA franchise. And then I actually did start a podcast and ran a podcast for quite a while until all of my endeavors got too busy. So I had to pick one to stop. And it unfortunately was my podcast at the moment.
Oh, I totally understand that. We've actually just recently expanded where we're doing an experiment where we're doing 5 episodes a week. We do 2.
I saw that.
Oh, crazy. 2 interviews and then 3 of Doug and I. And it's just like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to sleep?
That's a lot. I was doing 2 a week, and that was, I was batching them. So I was able to get ahead quite a bit. But as you know, it's still a lot of work just to get everything fine tuned in the way you want it.
Oh, it's totally crazy. Totally crazy. So anyway, the links, you can go to playtga.com if you want to find out about more Teach, Grow, and Achieve franchise information. And Paul, what is your woodworking e-commerce site? I would love to give you a plug on there too.
It's called simplerhomeusa.com. So simplerhomeusa.com, our brand is Simpler Home. Just got our trademark finished. Yesterday, we got the notification from the friends at USPTO that our trademark has been approved. So Simpler Home is officially trademarked. So things are going well there. Just got our Shopify store done about a month ago. So we're slowly transitioning, hopefully, all of our business off of Etsy and Amazon Handmade to our own shop. So that's where you can find us there.
Very cool. It will all be in the show notes, of course, as always. Paul, thank you so much for being on. We totally appreciate it. Nice guy community. Thank you once again for listening. We love you guys. And Steve O'Brien, take us out of here.
The nice guys want to hear from you. Call 4242 DJ Doug and ask any questions you like. Well, except about the cloud. Nobody understands the cloud. Don't bring up Santa Claus either. Doug's still a believer.